I don't
I'm
think it's, oh, now it's live.
oh no, hey everybody, we're live now. Scott Wayman here with Kangarootime. I'm honored to be joined by Chanie Wilschanski. Chanie, how are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm excited to connect with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be vulnerable here. The last meeting we had, I missed it. I was in New York or in Buffalo, and I have a screwy thing when I'm on one coast to the other. I'm always 3 hours either behind or ahead. So my apologies. I'm glad we could sync up. It's a little early here on the West Coast, but
Yeah, that is early. It's 10 o'clock here in Florida. So
I've already done my 6 mile run. I feel good. Been through the shower. Thank goodness. So life is good. It's warm here in California. How's Florida?
delicious. We're swimming
Yeah,
again. So it's nice.
it's growing fast too. So
Every day people are moving here. Every day.
what is it, like 100,000 people a month move there or something crazy?
Something crazy. I mean, even just in our community, we had a community Friday night dinner last week, and it was for everyone who moved since August. And there were 17 new families just in our community.
That's crazy. That's incredible. A lot of New Yorkers. I know there's a lot of New
A
York
lot of New
migration.
York.
Yeah, a lot of New York, a lot of California migration.
Yeah, two Californians. Yeah, yeah.
Well, hey, Florida, a great place to live. It's booming, it's growing, and we're here to talk about one of your favorite topics. It's actually one that I think a little differently about,
Mhm.
like way differently than most of our owners, I think. But I'd love to talk through it. So we're going to talk about employee retention. Um, and Honey, I know your business is built around helping our owners and directors build better ecosystems, build more efficient delivery models,
Mhm.
and everybody talks about retention being so important. But give me kind of your high level thoughts on retention and how it relates back to your culture and the bottom line. I mean, I know those are two different things, but I'd love to hear the school of excellence background with thoughts on retention.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking this question because I think as I work with leaders more and more, I have different thoughts on retention and different um, kind of feelings around culture and retention. So I think I had a conversation with an owner a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, everyone's been with me for so long, and I have the highest retention rate, and she's kind of like talking a lot into, and then she equated high retention with good culture. And I actually told her that that is not always a true equation. It's not always true math, meaning there are a lot of people that stay in a job because of convenience, because they're afraid to go somewhere else, because they are bullied into being there, because they need to, whether because of benefits or this, or because their kids are in the school and if they're get free tuition or whatever it is. Like, high retention doesn't always mean high, good, collaborative school of excellence culture. And that can sometimes feel disheartening for leaders when they're like, but what do you mean? Like, everyone's been with me for so long. That doesn't mean that everyone wants to be there. Right? Think of it in the context of marriage. There's a lot of people that have been married for 30, 40, 50 years. That doesn't mean they want to be in that relationship necessarily. Now, of course, there's an overwhelming majority of people that have been together for so long. They actually love each other and they want to be together. But there is that concept. And I do think it's important to recognize that because a lot of leaders become complacent. And I just had a conversation yesterday with an owner who has enjoying really high retention, but I know her directors. And I started having some conversations, and her directors are actually scared to leave because they're afraid they're not going to find a job somewhere else, and they're afraid they're not going to find all the benefits and everything, and they're not so happy there.
Yeah, no, Honey, I see. What I hear from you is very similar to my thesis. And again, I think everybody looks at this long tail picture of continuity, And continuity isn't always optimization. My thesis on retention and a great work culture is about self-awareness. And it leads, and I know that's kind of like the new quantitative self buzzwords. Be self-aware. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to be very, very skilled and very dedicated to making your employees self-aware. And honey, back to your marriage conversation. Pair bonding or marriage is all about giving and getting fulfillment and needs met and all those things. When you enter into a work relationship, it's a very kind of it's a very meritocracy, yeah. Right? Like I hire Genevieve or I hire David, who many of you have met, because we at Kangarootime, we need high performance. Our mission to help owners and directors, it requires high stress, high performance. And within that currency, we build a culture of kindness. We build a culture of resilience. We build of integrity. So we try to live in those values, but there are always those infusions of self-awareness that are needed. What does Genevieve need from Kangarootime? What does David? What does Scott need from Kangarootime? Why am I here? Am I doing those assessments on a regular basis? I think so often we think of relationships with employee as kind of like this surf or this kind of like I hate to bring this in, but like this imbalanced indentured servitude relationship. It's not. It's very symbiotic. The employee should be getting as much out of it as the employer, and I think when you think in those terms, it can kind of correct a lot of the behavior you were talking about, the golden handcuffs, or, oh, I'm afraid to go get another job. If we're all self-aware and we're all challenging ourselves, honey, if I'm having that conversation with you once a month, maybe, I don't think that's too hard. Honey, what do you want? Do you want to be a director one day? How can we get you there? How can we take an extra 10 minutes each day to help you resolve your skills? What brings you satisfaction? And that brings me to my next, like we all talk about retention associated with continuity. My thing is or my relentless focus has been happiness and fulfillment brings about the best work, right? Like that's kind of the motivation for me, not continuity. If I have to rehire somebody, sure, I have to work a little harder. I have to retrain somebody. There's money lost. But it's more about the employee's fulfillment.
Yeah, and just to layer onto that, with the self-awareness piece when it comes to retention, there's a basic human need where people want to grow and want to get better. And I think the way that happens in the context of the ripple effect is the leader has to get better and stronger and develop themselves. I had a conversation with an owner. Well, I was supposed to have a conversation with an owner yesterday, and she kept pushing it off. She kept canceling. It was like I got on the call and she wasn't there, and so I pinged her. I was like, "Hey," and she's like, "Oh, I actually can't make it. Like, could we do 3:00 or whatever?" Like, she kept canceling, and so whatever. Finally, at the end of the day, I was just like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "Oh, it's really hard. Like, I don't know that I could do this right now. Like, I needed to put the babies to bed in the infant room." And I was like, "You are an owner of 4 locations and running a multi-million-dollar empire, and you are in the infant room putting babies to bed. That is not okay. That is not a badge of royalty. That is complete insanity on every single level. That you think it's okay to not show up to a call that you scheduled. And what is your reason? You are putting a baby to bed. You have 60 employees. Why are not one of your employees putting that baby to bed? Like, this is a massive issue on delegation, on control. Like, this is crazy that you think it's okay that you didn't show up to this call. And the reason was because you were putting an infant to bed. That is not noble. That is not noble. That is actually insane.
Honey, I've seen a lot of your content built around, what is a $10 per hour task,
Yes.
and what's a $1,000 per hour task, and I do remember that old adage. And by the way, that's what she's setting all over the place with fulfillment and whatever. So anyway, thank you for not cracking me up. But I do think there's that as an owner or as a leader in a company, you do have to right size the labor, and again, putting babies to bed, not noble, right? Like if you're running the business the way you should be empowering the person in the classroom to put that child to bed. And then in the background, you're a general manager. You're a general manager of a huge sports franchise. You should see it that way. You're there to take care of your players. You're there to make sure they have all the accoutrements and the luxuries to do their jobs well. To me, that's better time.
But that's retention. That's retention right there. Like, people don't want to be task helpers or task rabbits or just helpers. Like, people want to actually own their roles because it makes them feel in charge and in control of themselves, right? And if a leader is constantly managing and controlling every single thing down to putting the babies to bed, people don't feel worthy. People actually feel like piece of shit. You don't even trust me to put the baby to bed, right? They're not going to stay. People stay where they feel valued and appreciated, and many owners equate value and appreciation with $10 gift cards or with manis and petties or with whatever it is. No. That is not appreciating and valuing someone. Valuing someone is saying, I trust you so much that I trust you that you can figure out how to do this without me. You're a grown-up. You have a social security card. You have a passport. You can get a paycheck. Oh my goodness. You can also do this.
Honey,
like,
honey, you bring about a great concept. One of the things that we've been obsessed with over the past year and a half is we decided to stand up it's a platform inside of our Slack channels, and it allows you to give kudos to people. So we have what's called Kangarootime, and these can be given by any team member. You don't even have to be a manager at any time. And if somebody does a great job, we trip over ourselves to recognize it. And we find ways to recognize our people every day because we are so proud to serve our customers. And I think setting that standard and the having enough diligence to celebrate recognition. I mean, think about it. Honey, you and I are CEOs. We get celebrated every day. We get so. If I send an email to somebody for whatever reason, you've heard some of the dumb things that come out of my mouth. It gets answered. And our employees, they need that boost. They need that elevation of empathy and importance and appreciation. And again, it's cultural. When you're changing diapers, when you're putting babies down, how do you do that? How do you build out that framework? It's nearly impossible.
I also think, and this is so hard for leaders. Like, even I was talking with someone and she was like, well, I only have X amount of money in my professional development budget and I can't use, most of it for myself. Like, that's selfish. And I'm like, no, that's actually the best thing to do. Like, put all the money in yourself, because every dime that you put in yourself will actually impact the teachers. But that's like a wholly separate thing. But I was on a call talking with a client who was really, really struggling, mentally, emotionally, like just everything. And I brought in one of my team members who works with our clients to observe and shadow me and watch the call. And when the call was done, she was so inspired. Like, she was like, that was magical to watch you coach that person. Like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be able to do that one day. And I was like, that's the point of our one-on-ones. Like, I'm going to coach you. I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to teach you how to do this. That's retention. People want more responsibility, more ownership, more leadership, more skills. Like, and you need to be the inspiring leader that's like, oh my gosh, like, I want to be like you. I want to be able to do that. That's amazing. So when you think of retention, and I did a whole podcast episode on Teacher Appreciation Week, so definitely go check out our podcast, Schools of Excellence podcast, the most recent episode that dropped on Tuesday. But when you think of retention and you think of the hiring crisis in like our country right now, people are hungry for belonging. People are hungry for connection. People are hungry for a sense of purpose and meaning in their life. That is what people are hunting for. If your work environment can give them that, they will come to you. It doesn't matter if you don't have maxed out 401ks and health benefits. That's not what people are hunting for. They're hunting for something completely different.
You're absolutely right. It reminds me of like the famous line when Steve Jobs asked John Scully if he wanted to, he was at Pepsi at the time, and he said, do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to revolutionize the world? And I think early educators have and our owners and directors have such a have such a great legacy to tap into with building bodies, minds, and souls, and really helping people understand that they're a part of something that's foundational. That's a huge part of our GDP. It's a big part of our economy. I talk to investors every day about how significant childcare is. If you look at the most recent announcement by Biden,
I can't even get started.
I mean, but there is a significant appreciation for what we do for children in the world of early education. Chanie, one of the things that you've kind of like triangulated around is communication.
Yeah.
And how communication is so incredibly important. And I'll say this, I've made a couple of snafus. We're growing really fast, and I've hired people that I've been working on, and I didn't necessarily communicate with everybody. I've made the realization that my communication here over the next year and a half, as we grow as quickly as we're growing. I mean, we are the fastest growing company and one of the fastest growing companies in the world. There's no doubt. Like if you saw our metrics, and with that is there's so much like positivity and great things, but then there's also communicating with our staff and communicating with our team that's helped to build it. And integrating new people.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I want to talk to you about my favorite topic, communication. So I just was talking to an owner who just enrolled 2 directors into our directors in our circle. And she's like, there's something that's missing with them. Like, I can't figure out what skill they're missing. And I'm like, here is what it is. 95% of your director's job is conflict resolution. Period. That is what they are busy with 95% of the day, is dealing with conflict. Teacher conflict, parent conflict, kid conflict, all day long. And so when they don't have the communication skills to de-escalate conflict, to help people navigate and solve their own problems, to help people develop awareness so that they understand that they're actually part of the problem and they're deflecting and blaming and playing the victim right now, that is like, that's the kryptonite of so many leaders, like recognizing you're always managing and dealing with conflict. And as long as you think conflict is bad and you should avoid it, you are headed to like, you're not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. Conflict is a good thing. It is part of every single fabric of every single relationship. Every marriage has conflict. Every marriage has debate and difference of opinion and like everything. Stop pushing conflict down the road and saying, well, if conflict's here, that means we don't have a good culture. No, if conflict's here and you don't deal with it, you have a toxic culture.
Chanie, conflict resolution is somewhat mechanical, right? Because I think we all, like our primal reaction to conflict is fight or flight. And there's actually a phenomenon. It's a certain kind of a aphasia that we all go through when you're faced with conflict, because primally it comes to you as a threat. But with practice, like what you're saying, Chanie, conflict can be very attainable. Like conflict resolution skills, it takes practice. It also takes all this stuff with meditation and centering yourself. I think in terms of being in the centrifuge of chaos and being faced with conflict and being calmly kind of like martial arting your way through it.
You're doing visualization.
Doing visualization, and you're practicing, and you're understanding that it's a part of your day. It's just mechanical. It's not emotional. Somebody being upset about what they're being paid is not emotional. There are facts, and when we learn to break down how to deal with that conflict in a very mechanical way. Hey, the business makes this much money. Your value on the market is this. We work very hard to give you an environment that's awesome to work in. So if you can go make money elsewhere, totally understand it, totally get that. But the conflict here is that, or the dissonance that you're having is you're not happy with the money you're making, and I'm going to try to walk you through that. Or you have a parent that's upset about availability on a Thursday where you're full. This is procedural. It's mechanical. It's not emotional, and it's a skill. It's something you have to work on, meditate through, think through, practice, role play. I mean, these things are conflict resolution is
I want
really.
to that thing with your visualization thing, because I think it's genius, and this is what people in crisis and trauma units train for. Why are they training all day long? They train so hard. So when crisis and disaster hits, they will, their whole point is to minimize loss of life. But you can't do it if you're going to panic. And so they train so hard. So when they come to the scene of the craziness, they are methodical. They know exactly what to go for. They know exactly where to look. They know they know how to minimize trauma. Like, that's their goal. And so leaders spend hours rocking babies to bed, putzing around on Pinterest, scrolling through Facebook, doing all this kind of stuff, instead of actually training for conflict, training for resilience, training for confidence. Like, you need to train yourself constantly. And it's building reps. And I always say, like, running a school, you got to train like an athlete. Like, you have to train to have those conversations where two parents are standing there yelling at you in the parking lot, and you're like, I've already visualized this. I know exactly how I'm going to respond to this. Right?
Honey, I got a question for you on that with getting your reps and training. So I think we've all had the employee that is not necessarily skilled on the other side of conflict resolution. You know, that they have the tendency to create drama. They have the tendency to be very, very self-focused. How do you push back initially to say, hey, we've got to get our reps in here. This is mechanical. This is how we interact with the world. This is self-awareness. Where do you go first? Where do you go first with that employee?
Yeah, I think the first step is starting, well, if you're going on an individual level, is that you are not your emotions. Yeah. You have the ability to pull yourself out and actually watch from the balcony how you're responding. You're responding from the center of the storm, right? Like you're like, I got this. Like, I'm in the center of the hurricane and I'm not going to be swept up in it. So it's training the educational part for people to realize you can actually choose a different response. I know right now your default is crying. Through training, you can actually learn how to not cry in situations like that. You can actually learn how to not panic when Mike throws a block across the room. You can learn how to breathe even when Mr. Smith comes and starts like verbal vomiting on you. Like, you can actually learn a different response. First, there has to be the acceptance of that truth, and then you could start training them on those skills. But as long as they believe that this is just the way I am, like, this is how I respond, I just panic, I'm a perfectionist, okay. As long as you believe that, I can't help you.
Hey,
right?
Exactly, honey.
I can't help you. She thinks that she should rock babies to bed. I can't help you. I can't help you.
And I think as leaders, we need, you were alluding to a few of them, you need to be familiar with some of the mechanisms too. That employee that says, that's just how I act. Well, we you know, that's not high emotional intelligence, which is what we're looking for. We need people to be very emotionally intelligent in the classroom. And let me introduce you to a couple of mechanisms. So first of all, like we've talked about a few of them. One, pulling yourself out and perching yourself on that balcony and looking at the 30,000 foot overview, seeing how silly the situation is, seeing how charged it is emotionally.
Yes.
And then that gets to another piece of the retention, which goes the other way. You're working very hard on self-awareness and then the mechanisms to deal with and grow self-awareness. And then you mentioned the employee archetype that I just love, where they're like, hey, I'm letting my freak flag fly. I just blow up. I act like that. That's just me. And the response in my internalized response is, no, MFer, that is not just you. That's not appropriate.
I agree.
And that might be an area where negative retention is great. You know, somebody's just like, that's just how I react. That's how I do. I can't control myself. Sorry, you know, like these are not the folks we want delivering quality and building bodies, souls, and minds in our classroom. So no. So self-awareness, then the mechanisms, and then that understanding and the evaluation on whether or not that person can grow into the culture and be happy.
Yeah, I think this is such a way to kind of bring everything full circle here. I was talking to an owner who has a lot of veteran staff, like they've been with her for a very long time. And she was struggling with like having this conversation with one of her veterans around, she's like, my veteran teacher keeps saying, she's like, I'm good. I've arrived. Like, I'm really good at all this stuff. I do this and I do this and I do this and I do, like, she was kind of like telling her all the stuff that she does. And the owner's like, how do I tell her that like, she hasn't arrived yet? Like there's still so much more. And so I gave the analogy, and I was like, you know, every single time we reach a milestone, it creates new opportunity and new conflict. Like we bought our dream home. That was a giant thing on our bucket list. That was a huge point of like, oh my gosh, like we've crossed off this huge, huge thing that we've worked on for over a decade. Yeah, well, moving here created its whole new host of things. Now I need a pool guy. Now I need a lawn person. Now I need to cut the lawn. Now I need to take care of the grass. I need to take care of the fruit trees. I need to do this. I need to do this. The vac broke. The AC broke. The septic system. Like now I have a whole new host of things that I have to learn how to take care of, even in my dream home, right? In the most pinnacle of goals that I was trying to hit, guess what, friend? There's new challenges and problems that come with that, right? Good ones. It's a good problem to have to take care of your lawn, right? And you're going to have a lawn. So what's thing is that the cycle always continues, even when you hit this giant milestone. Okay, and now what?
That's right. Chanie, great to bring it full circle. And I will say this, I have attended many childcare summits or shows or consortiums or whatever you want to call them. And there are some that I attend where, and I love to talk to our owners and directors. This is where I've made so many love connections and just like made so many, and that sounds weird, but I'm serious. So many soulmates, so many, hopefully some of you are on.
Yeah,
that we're just kindred spirits and souls, and we've built such great relationships. So I feel like I get the organic, like after the afterglow. Gosh, this is going so wrong.
So touchy, Scott.
Yeah. So, but oftentimes after certain events, I'll hear, I'm going to go home and clean up my culture and fire. You know, like I've been inspired. I've identified bad. Chanie, I think what we're talking about is when you've crossed that cavern and you get to the next level and you really want to build out that beautiful culture of prosperity and promotions and advancement and people that get to the next level, people that are just you know, they're fulfilled. But these skills are harder. You know, cleaning house and getting rid of the shitty attitude, that's simple. Leveling somebody up that's got like high fluid intelligence and industriousness and high integrity, leveling somebody up, Chanie, that's what the great leaders do. That's where
maintenance. And nobody wants to do maintenance. Everyone wants to start something. Everyone wants to stop something. Nobody wants to do maintenance. Consistently meet with the high level employee and challenge them. All right, what's next, girl? Like, where do you want to go? What's your next stretch goal? That is so hard because that's the maintenance. That's the minutia stuff. And maintenance is hard, right? Jim Rohn says, and this is my favorite quote, success is simple. Wake up every single day and do all the things that everyone else avoids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so
And
true.
that's what it is. And I love what you're saying here, Scott. Like, this is about people that are playing at a super high level, people that have like a Genevieve in their company, or a David in their company, or like people in my, like I have Sarah in my company, I have Kadri in my company. Like, these are people that are playing at a super high level. To keep them playing higher and higher, I have to step up higher and higher and
Absolutely.
higher. And at every level, there's chaos, there's anxiety, there's uncertainty, there's fear. Like, every single day, I basically tell my team, hey, I'm really good at this, so now I'm going to stop doing it. You're going to do it, and I'm going to go do shit that I've never done before. Like, that's what you have to do as the CEO, not rock babies to bed. I know I keep going back to that example because it's driving me crazy. Like, you need to do things that, like, nobody else does. I could talk to you forever, Scott. I love you.
Same. Love you. We always do this. Yeah. But again, I'll wrap it with this. Yeah,
let's do it.
Can't wait to do our next one. Don't even know what the topic is, but hey, talk about upping my game. I always like to study a little bit before we jump on and make sure I have my thoughts together. But I think what we've kind of like meandered around to, or you're always very succinct. I meander, you're succinct. I'm gas, you're brakes, in a good way. But one of the things is the triangle of a organizational structure. The best way to think about it is to flip it upside down. The CEO's at the bottom, and we're trying to inspire the best and greatest people that we have the privilege to work with. And then, like I said earlier, getting rid of the shitty person with the bad attitude, that's easy. Yeah. And if you try to love on somebody and level them up, do it, but no one to cut your losses. Where you really become great, like you said, with Jim Rohn's quote, is doing the stuff that's tough. And the tough stuff is when you have great people and getting them leveled up every day and giving them something to work for. So
yeah. So I would love to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments what you want Scott and I to talk about next time. There's no like prearranged agenda. Like, we kind of decide together what we're going to chat about. Also check out Scott's website. He's got some amazing stuff. Scott and I think 80% of our clients use your software right now. So we love your software. And definitely, please go check out the Schools of Excellence podcast, especially with teacher appreciation coming up next week. We recorded an entire episode just on appreciation and gratitude. So go check that out if you want some ideas for the difference between appreciation and gratitude, and how to appreciate staff in a culture of excellence. So, Scott, thanks so much for having me here. I love it.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, we love you. Love you, honey. Thank you so much. And reach out if you need anything. This was awesome, as usual. Thanks, honey.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.